'cause I'm a bad, 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 bad bitch.
What's up, everyone? This is another episode of For the People in the Back podcast. I'm your host, the Phoenix Steve, or you can call me Diva. And this is a podcast for the people that can never afford the first row, but always the standing section in the back. You are appreciated. So I hope you guys had a good week. And for the people that are currently in a heat wave, I completely feel your pain because Texas is hot as shit right now. And I think that we are on our way to a trajectory, or I don't know if we beat it yet or not, but we are getting close to 30 days here in Texas of straight triple degree weather. So I understand everyone that's having a hard time with this heat wave. I get it. Now, on today's podcast, I kind of want to talk about something different. One thing about my podcast is I don't feel like any episode is completely the same. They have different topics and things like that, and I'm okay with that because that's kind of what I want to do. I kind of want to just speak on things that either I find it funny or interesting, or there's things that I feel like you guys should know or be cognizant of, or I just really want to give my opinion on something. So during Comic-Con last week, Marvel has announced that they have completed phase 4, and the next phase is about to start, which is phase 5. So phase 4 is done, and they announced all the projects that they have listed for phase 5 for the fans to expect. In phase 6, there are things that are listed also, but there's still question marks, so I'm guessing they're still trying to nail out the details for phase 6, which I'm not really criticizing them for that, because like the material that they had for phase 4, phase 5, and the other phases were absolutely insane. And to be honest with you, I haven't even watched it all because I'm just picking and choosing which Marvel shows I want to watch, to be honest with you. I don't watch Marvel shows because they're Marvel. I watch it because I want to enjoy it, or I feel like I will enjoy it. So that's kind of where I am. But here's what's interesting about that. A couple of days after phase 5 was announced on Comic-Con, and everyone is screaming the praises of Marvel, saying, I'm so excited for Loki 2 coming out. I'm so excited that Agatha's show's coming back. I'm so excited to see the trailer for Black Panther 2. And I understand y'all's excitement. I'm not going to tell you guys what you can and cannot be excited for. But I think we need to talk about why we like these shows, why we enjoy these shows. And it's because of the special effects, the CGI. That's why we love it. Because we all know that if it wasn't for the CGI, building the backdrop, building these planets, building these ships, and even down to the damn near outfit, because like they're wearing dots and stuff. So it's not like all these outfits these people are physically wearing. Most of these outfits are CGI. And even the show WandaVision, because of the pandemic, it was said that the backdrop and the people that were walking around, that was CGI and that was special effects. And then you can just go on YouTube and see the behind the scenes of these actors and them acting in different scenes. And you can literally see there's literally nothing there except for the actors in green. That's all you see is the actors in green. And there are people, real people like you and I, that are making the background. Okay? So it's not like the special effects people don't do anything, aren't a huge part of why we like these shows. Without them, we don't have shows. These are facts. So I'm just going to read this article. And this article came out after they announced phase 5 and 6 from Marvel at Comic-Con. And we're going to read it because I think we should. I am a VFX artist and I'm tired of getting pixel fucked by Marvel. This came out on July 26th. So this article I'm about to read is in the description. It is about a special effects artist that came forward anonymously to talk about how he is treated at Marvel, to do all these things, to create these environments, to do the special effects, so me, myself, can enjoy it for my entertainment, right? for my entertainment. Like, these people are creating backdrops, ships, all types of shit for my enjoyment. So I feel like the least we can do is just hear what they have to say. It's pretty well known and even darkly joked about across all the visual effects houses that working on Marvel shows is really hard. When I worked on one movie, it was almost 6 months of overtime every day. I was working 7 days a week, averaging 64 hours a week on a good week. Marvel generally works you hard. I've had coworkers sit next to me, break down, and start crying. I've had people having anxiety attacks on the phone. The studio has a lot of power over the effects houses, just because it has so many blockbuster movies coming out one after the other. If you upset Marvel in any way, there's a very high chance you're not going to get those projects in the future. So the effects houses are trying to bend over backwards to keep Marvel happy. So basically, Marvel, if they hire your company to do the special effects, so contracting, right? Contract work. So if they're contracting you to do a show or anything, and if you complain at all, what I'm getting from that is you're not just the employee, but your company is blackballed.
Shut up! That is so stupid!
They are, to get work, the houses bid on a project. They are all trying to come in right under one another's bids. With Marvel, the bids will typically come in quite a bit under. And Marvel is happy with the relationship because it saves its money. So imagine this. The bids will typically come in quite a bit under, and Marvel is happy with that relationship. But what ends up happening is that all Marvel projects tend to be understaffed. Where I would usually have a team of 10 VFX artists on a non-Marvel movie, on one Marvel movie, I got 2, including myself.
Damn!
So every person is doing more work than they need to. Imagine making billions of dollars on a movie, and you won't even contract enough employees to get the shit done. This is pure greed. We're not talking about somebody in a mom and pop shop making a mom and pop movie. We're talking about movies that are making billions of dollars. The other thing with Marvel, it is famous for asking for a lot of changes throughout the process. So you're already overworked, but then Marvel's asking for regular changes way in excess of what any other client does. And some of those changes are really major. Maybe a month or 2 before a movie comes out, Marvel will have us change the entire 3rd act. It has really tight turnaround times. So yeah, it's not just a great situation all around. One visual effects house could not finish the number of shots and reshoots Marvel is asking for in time. So Marvel had to give my studio the work. Ever since, that house has effectively been blacklisted from getting Marvel work. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if it was any work. And you know what? I have to say, one of my best friends is an artist. And before we became friends, the one thing she made very clear to me, because she is a businesswoman, is that, hey, if you want any changes to the design, when I show you my work in progress, which is basically this is what I have, that is your time to speak. Because after I start putting the colors in and things like that, I'm not changing a fucking thing. I'm not changing a fucking thing. Because I'm showing you what it's going to look like, and that is your time to be like, not into it. And I think that's a fair policy. But this right here saying like months, like 2-3 months before a movie comes out, you have to change a whole 3rd act? A whole 3rd act. And you know Marvel scenes is just straight CGI. The background, the monsters, or whoever they're fighting is straight CGI. And we're probably talking about 30 minutes of footage. Or probably a little bit more than that, because we know these movies last about 2 hours. So I would say 30 minutes as a fair estimate, if it's a 3rd act. Just a fair estimate. I don't know, he didn't give me a time frame, but I'm just giving an estimate. Part of the problem comes from the MCU itself. Just the sheer number of movies it has. It sets dates and it's very inflexible on those dates. Yet it's quite willing to do reshoots and big changes very close to the dates without shifting them up or down. This is not a new dynamic. I remember going to a presentation by one of the other VFX houses about an early MCU movie, and people were talking about how they were getting pixel fucked. That's a term we use in the industry when the client will nitpick over every little pixel, even if you never notice it. A client might say, this is not exactly what I want, and you keep working at it, but they have no idea what they want. So they'll be like, can you just try this? Can you just try that? They'll want you to change an entire setting, an entire environment, pretty late in a movie. The main problem is most of the Marvel's directors aren't familiar with working with visual effects. A lot of them have just done little indies at the Sundance Film Festival and have never worked with VFX. They don't know how to visualize something that's not there yet. That's not on set with them. So Marvel often starts asking for what we call final renders. As we're working through a movie, we'll send work in progress images that are not pretty, but show where we're at. So back to what I was saying with my friend, she'll show me a work in progress image. So for example, I got a tattoo this summer or right before the summer, and I had my friend, Elise, I told her, hey, would you design me a tattoo? She said, of course. And the first design she gave to me, I was like, can you change this aspect? And it wasn't a problem because she gave me a work in progress. It would be completely different if she gave me a work in progress and I said I liked it. Then when she finished it, I'm like, no, I don't like it. No, when she first gave me the first sketch, I immediately went, no, can we change this? She changed it. We didn't have a problem with it. We did not have no problems. We had no issues because at the end of the day, I'm being fair to her. She's being fair to me. And as long as we're being fair and giving each other reasonable accommodations, then that's a great working business relationship. But these people are giving Marvel a work in progress. And then Marvel's like, okay, I like it. And then afterwards, they're like, no, I don't like it. That's fucked. That's completely fucked. Marvel often asks for them to be delivered at much higher quality or very early on, and that takes a lot of time. So they don't even want a work in progress. So they're just complete morons. Marvel does that because its directors don't know how to look at the rough images early on and make judgment calls. But that is the way the industry has to work. You can't show something super pretty when the basics are still being fleshed out. The other issue is, when we are in post-production, we don't have a director of photography involved. So we're coming up with the shots a lot of the time. It causes a lot of incongruity. A good example of what happens in these scenarios is the battle scene at the end of Black Panther. The physics are completely off. Suddenly the characters are jumping around, doing all these crazy moves like action figures in space. Suddenly the camera is doing these motions that haven't happened in the rest of the movie. It also looks a bit cartoony. It has broken the visual language of film. Things need to change on two ends of the spectrum. Marvel needs to train its directors on working with visual effects and have a better vision out of the gate. The studio needs to hold its directors' feet to the fire more to commit to what they want. The other thing is unionization. There's a growing movement to do that because it would help make sure that VX houses can't take bids without having to consider what the impacts would be. Because a lot of the time, it's like you get to work on a Marvel show and you'll work on that for cheaper. You'll work on that for cheaper just because it's cool. Some of the problems I mentioned are universal to every show and every project, but you end up doing less overtime on other shows. You end up being able to push back more on the directors. When they say something like, hey, I want this, you could be like, this doesn't make sense. Not every client has the bullying power of Marvel. This, I have no words. I have no words. And I completely understand the sentiment of having someone that's like your boss trying to tell you what to do with your job and they don't even know what your job is. And I think everyone can relate to that. So after reading this article, I just feel a certain ways because after hearing about this article coming out, I didn't read it until now, but like I knew some of the snippets of it. it made me kind of go back and say to myself, I think we heard about something like this, about special effects teams not being treated well. And I vividly remember there was a protest several years ago. And boy, I was right. All these articles, I will be putting them in the description of the podcast and on YouTube. There was a movie back in like 2012-ish called Life of Pi, right? It might have been 2012 or 2011, but the movie notoriously won for best visual effects, right? In The Life of Pi, it was literally just CGI. Now, they won the award, the house did, right, for visual effects. But here's the fucked part about it. Days before the Oscars, right, the company or the house that made Life of Pi had to file for bankruptcy.
Damn!
And they just didn't do Life of Pi. They did the Snow White and the Huntsman that year. And both of those movies were up for a nomination for best visual effects. But, and here's the kicker, when Rhythm and Hues, Bill Windhofer, I can't pronounce his name, was accepting the award for the company's work on Life of Pi, the orchestra swelled with the theme from Jaws, and eventually his mic was cut off. That happens sometimes when a winner's acceptance speech runs too long. But as Variety's David S. Cohen pointed out on Twitter, okay, Oscar conspiracy theorists, music came up on VFX winners in 44.5 seconds. Next winner, Claudio Miranda, spoke almost 60 seconds. No music. There are other factors involved in how long a winner gets to speak, certainly, like whether the show is running on time or the name recognition of the winner. But considering the two awards were given out back to back in what many would consider to be a minor category, it seems pretty cut and dry that the mic was cut to avoid shining a light on the controversy. After the ceremony, however, at a time when visual effects movies are dominating the box office, the visual effects companies are struggling. And I want to point out that we aren't technicians. Visual effects is not just a commodity that's being done by people pushing buttons. We are artists, and if we don't find a way to fix the business model, we start to lose the artistry. If anything, Life of Pi shows that we are artists and not just technicians. The visual effects community feels undervalued in an industry that's becoming more and more centered around the work they do. What's the last movie you saw that has zero digital effects incorporated into it? And remember, not every movie is Life of Pi with obvious CGI. Visual effects are becoming more and more pervasive in films, and the people who create them suddenly stop building these visual worlds, we'd all just be spending hours watching people in front of green screens. Which, I brought that up. I brought that up earlier, right? We were just seeing green screens. That's all we would see. Now, this is the fucked up part. This happened in 2013. February 2013, to be exact. So 9 years after the fact. 9 years. It'll be 10 years next year. 9 years after the fact, we know for a fact that The Mandalorian is literally just a green screen. We know that. These are facts, not a suggestion. And in 2013, imagine winning a prestigious award of winning an Oscar for your house doing good, having the best special effects in cinema that year, and you had to shut down before the Oscars came in. And the movies that you worked special effects with, Snow White and the Huntsman and Life of Pi, made billions of dollars, and you still have to close your house. So people lost their fucking jobs after making a film that made billions. It's disgusting. And now this is a more recent thing. Studio that redesigned Sonic the Hedgehog is shut down before Christmas. Now, for the people that don't remember, Sonic the Hedgehog original trailer, Sonic looked really, really crazy and it looked really, really bad. And so Paramount's like, okay, we're going to go fix it, right? So my dumbass assumed that they were going to do the right thing and pay the special effects people extra money or something to get it done, right? That's what I thought. Because they had to do reshoots, they had to redo most of the scenes because they had to completely change Sonic. So we don't know all the things they had to change because they had to completely change the model and the look of the original Sonic. Now, I know there's some people going to be like, well, they shouldn't have made that Sonic look so ugly. Well, what I just read in the Marvel article, they probably did submit the designs to the director and the director okayed it. So why is it their fault that the director okayed an image? Why is it their fault? So the director okayed the image. They did the movie, right? And now it's like, okay, we have to change it. And because of the changes, I'm heavily assuming they're gone now. Also, the company was called Moving Picture Company. Moving Picture Company has worked on many huge movies, including The Lion King, Blade Runner 2049, and Guardians of the Galaxy. At one point, the Vancouver studio employed more than 800 employees. According to Cartoon Brew, the current staff were told the studio was closing with immediate effect in a meeting yesterday. Apparently, increasing external market pressures in Vancouver and more attractive opportunities in other locations were given as a reason for closing the studio. MPC has multiple VFX studios elsewhere, and there are rumors that the staff at other studios are being let go, even if the studios themselves will remain open. What's particularly painful about the news is the fact that the Vancouver studio had recently worked on two major projects, The Lion King and Sonic the Hedgehog, one of which at least had a demanding deadline. Someone claiming to be an ex-employee has taken to Reddit to share their account of the past year. We've all put in extreme hours wrapping two infamous projects in the last couple of months. We've done multiple weeks without a day off, regular 17-plus hour shifts to the point that most of us are seriously sleep deprived and we're suffering still. We worked really fucking hard to get this work out the door for NPC, and I'm genuinely ashamed that they are happier prioritizing their profit margins and tax incentives over the insane talent and commitment of hundreds of dedicated VFX artists in Vancouver. I honestly feel insulted, like I've given NPC my all. In return, they gave me the finger. In a later post, very rarely were people doing less than 10 hours a day. If you wanted to leave after your 8 hours, you had to ask permission to go home. Didn't want to work OT at the weekends? You have to give a satisfactory reason as why you couldn't do it, or they label it an unauthorized absence. We've contacted NPC for comment, and we'll update this post if they respond. So you guys, if you don't see it right now, this is a pattern. And it's something that needs to be talked about more. Because if we're going to sit here and cheer and scream and be all excited about seeing Black Panther, seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy, seeing all these movies, if you went and bought a movie ticket to go see Lore, Love and Thunder, if you went to go buy a movie ticket to go see the latest Spider-Man movie, or any of these movies that involve special effects, we as consumers need to be cognizant of who's making it. Who is making these films? Who is spending time away from their family so we, the consumer, can spend 2-3 hours or whatever to take our mind off of the bullshit of life? Imagine working your ass off on a project and getting fired anyways. So as a collective, I think we need to be more cognizant of what's going on here. I think we need to be more cognizant. I think we need to continue to talk about this, because the more we talk about it, the hopefully change will come. Because what happened to the people of Life of Pi was disgusting. That was back in 2013. That was back in 2013. And there was apparently a documentary that came out talking about what happened to Rhythm and Hughes. And the documentary came out in 2014. So that's 8 years ago. So imagine a decade later, and they called it back in 2013. They called it back in 2013 that if it wasn't for us, you would just be looking at green screens. They said this back in 2013. Back in 2013. And I can honestly believe that people really thought, oh, that's bullshit. No, it's real. It's absolutely real. They are rarely building sets anymore. No, it's green screen. It's green screen. Green screen. So I'm disgusted. I'm truly disgusted. And I think that if this continues, and we've seen it already, that we're going to start losing people that are so extremely talented, that are making these things for us. We're going to start losing them, and the content that we're going to start receiving is going to be absolutely horrific. Because these people are going to be like, I'm not going to break my back to make this shit. I'm going to go find other employment. Or worst thing, there will be less artists that want to get into this industry. Now, we all complain all the time of, why do they keep on doing movie remakes? Why won't people do anything original? Blah, 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 blah. It's because writers themselves are treated like shit also. So if you keep on, and you saw what happened. You remember the writer's strike that happened like many, many years ago? I feel like ever since that writer's strike, shit hasn't been the same. It has not been the same. And that's how I feel. It has not been the same. Television hasn't been the same. Movies haven't been the same. And we all say this. Why do they keep on showing us the same thing? Why do we keep on having this? Why do we keep on having that? Right? And another thing, I know I'm going to hear from y'all saying, well, they treat, the game designers the same way. Okay, guess what, Sherlock? That's not right either. It's not right. It's not right at all. Especially, again, they're creating stuff for us consumers to play or enjoy, to let us escape this fucked up version of reality that we're in, to give us a pause on it. If you had a bad day at work, watch a television show, watch a movie, play a video game. Okay? That's what you do. So we just need to be cognizant, and we need to be aware that if we continue to treat these people like shit, the special effects will get bad. I promise you, it will get bad. It will get bad. I promise you. Or we're just going to have a lot of unexperienced people doing it. And all the great, talented people, we're not going to see them anymore. We're not. Not at all. So, that's the end of the podcast for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. And I will see you next time. Peace.